Hi, I'm StorySD and welcome to StorySD episode number 161. Today it's time to break down the short Paperman.
Welcome to StorySD, helping you use storytelling in your communication strategy. Explore other resources at storysd.com. And now, here is your host, Dr. Soraya Ferreira, story strategy consultant and trainer.
Released in 2012, Paperman is set in New York City in the 1940s. We see George waiting at a train station, and while he's waiting for the train, he gets hit by a paper. Meg is running towards him and she grabs the paper that she lost. Then the same thing happens to George. He's holding a paper that flies away and hits Meg's face. When George retrieves the paper, there's a lipstick mark on the paper, which George finds very funny. The train arrives and Meg has to leave. George is sad and he enters his office. He looks out of the window and there she is. Meg is on the other building across the street. George thinks of a way to get her attention, so he starts making airplanes, paper airplanes from the stack of papers that he has on top of his desk. He tries several attempts, but they all fail until he reaches the last paper, which is the airplane that has the lipstick mark on it. By this time, his boss arrives with another stack of papers. Meg is leaving, and George needs to make a decision. And his decision is to run away from the office and try and see if he can catch Meg. But when he arrives downstairs, he doesn't see her. He's really disappointed and frustrated. But eventually, while he's walking, he's going to find all of the stack of the paper airplanes that he did. These airplanes gain life and they are all around him and they are pushing him towards somewhere. He doesn't have an alternative but to go to where the paper airplanes are telling him to go. He finally reaches the train station. The same thing happens to Meg. She's pushed to that train station and they finally meet. And this is the end of this short. So this short has the structure of a story. So you can see that the inciting incident, it's when both of them meet. Then you have the new world, which is when the George is trying to get Meg's attention by building all of those airplanes. But then you have the ordeal, which is Greg is going to get fired because he doesn't do what his boss tells him to do, but he runs away after Meg. Then we have the crisis, which is when Greg gives up, but then the airplanes come to life. So we have the climax, which is when they meet and they are together.
Standing on the Shoulder of Giants.
The recommended book for this episode is The Way of the Writer, Reflections on the Art and Craft of Storytelling by Charles Johnson. In this book, the section that I chose for this episode has to do with some tips that you can use on your writing. So for Charles Johnson, he said that your work must present 1. A story with logically plotted sequences. 2. Three-dimensional characters that is real people with real problems. 3. Sensuous description or complete world that readers can imaginably respond. 4. Dialogue with authenticity or real speech. 5. A strong narrative voice. And 6. Rhythm, musicality, and control of the cadences, their fiction. In the next episode, it's time to and this series that was dedicated to breaking down several stories. Until then, keep moving forward.
Thank you for tuning into StorySD. Sign up to the newsletter today and be the first to receive updates at StorySD.com.